Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody, to Cream of the Crop, a fantasy hockey podcast presented by Apples and Genos, the number one podcast to get your bod jazzed. I'm workshopping that. That's not my best work. Leave your comments below about that and send all complaints and concerns to Nate Niblink. I'm your host, Blake Creamer. Please give me a follow over on X at Blake Creamer AG. Also, check out the Apples and Genos Discord. Link is in the description. Check us out on YouTube as well. Search Apples and Genos. Thumb it up. Subscribe. Help us out. All right. Thank you very much. Joining me today is a legend in the game. All right. He's a returning guest, a friend of the show, Corey Sznajder from All Three Zones. Buddy, it's really good to see you. I'm excited to get into this conversation with you. How are things going with you?
They're going pretty well. It's a busy time of year. I'll try to live up to that introduction. As running on just constant coffee cups here.
Absolutely. But look how modest this man is. All right. That's another thing I like about you, Corey. All right. The modesty. All right. You're the most modest hockey analytics person I've ever seen. All right. Is that true? Is that how you would describe yourself?
I don't know. I've met the Evolving Wild twins before.
Okay.
They're very nice people.
Okay. Oh, wow. Look at that. Just deflecting, just more modesty right out the gate. I love that. How have you been enjoying these playoffs here? I know we were talking offline. You're busy kind of getting caught up on these games. Have you been able to kind of just enjoy what the first round has brought here and what have you seen so far?
Yeah, games here and there I've been able to kind of sit down and enjoy. Like I've been able to watch most of the Winnipeg series really. And I thought those games have been very interesting to watch, especially the two in Winnipeg, and then kind of how the Blues flip the script on them in the next two games. I've really enjoyed the whole chaos of the Kings Oilers series. That's the one that I've seen. That's the one I've had on the background most because it's on so late.
Lots of goals. I didn't expect that.
I cannot take my eyes off that at all. So that's been fun to watch. And I was kind of dreading the Carolina New Jersey series, like. As a Hurricanes fan, just following both teams all year, they were playing lousy hockey going into the playoffs. I'm like, this is just going to be a terrible series. But it was actually pretty exciting, especially game 2.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Jackson Blake, he's looking pretty good out there. He's doing stuff. I think Hurricanes really landed on their feet after this post-Rantanen thing. I mean, yeah, it was a whole strange saga there, but they appear to be pretty good. It's nice to see him in the second round.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was less of a it's not us, it's you problem in that whole trade situation when he was on the team. But I think, I don't know, everybody kind of got what they wanted with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the Canes, what do you think? Like they're obviously in the second round here. What do they need to do to continue this run here?
Well, their power play clicking at the rate that it's in right now will help, and this penalty kill staying perfect obviously will too. Because that was kind of what carried them through the first round, because that was kind of a bit of a 50-50 series 5-on-5, because they thumped the Devils in the first game. Keith made some adjustments with his lines to split up he split up his 3 stars on the top line to kind of make sure he had the best player on the ice all the time. And the Canes kind of had, I don't know if they had trouble adjusting to it. They just couldn't really tilt the ice as much as they wanted to, and they had to deal with some pressure from the Devils. And it kind of went back. The series went back and forth a little bit. Turning point was game 4, where they just thumped them in the first period, scored 2 goals, got another one on the power play later. And they kind of just coasted after that. And game 5 was just a terrible first period from Carolina. And then they just turned on the Jets after that.
Yeah, they had the Aho speech between the first period there, I read.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of that's probably the most encouraging thing to me, like as a Hurricanes fan going forward, because you look at who's scoring these goals that are getting through. It's Aho, it's Svechnikov.
Yeah,
nice. Jarvis had a big power play goal in game 3, and Svechnikov hat trick game 4. Like their star players are the best players on the ice, and that's what's costed them some series in the past, like against the Rangers especially. Because it was always Fox and Panarin that were the best players on the ice, and that when they played them, and they got Washington next. And I feel like against Washington, like I think it's a tougher matchup than New Jersey. Obviously, that team they're way less. They got a lot more depth on that team, but there's a better chance for one of their guys to be the best player on the ice in this game or in this series.
Yeah, well, I like that, and it's really nice to see Svech popping off. Like that's a guy, obviously, I'm interested in. Last time I had you on, we talked about Svech and his sort of struggles. What's changed for Svechnikov in this first round playoff series? Like, why is he getting so much success?
Yeah, it's kind of just been him like kind of rounding things out late in the season because he struggled big time this year, especially at 5-on-5 with taking penalties and just not really creating much of anything while giving everything back defensively.
Yep.
But it's just the pucks are just going in now. He had great chemistry with Taylor Hall early in the series. Like that line, they didn't score any goals in game one, but they were the best line for Carolina in that game to tilt the ice and kind of let Aho kind of reap the benefits of it. And they put him back on the top line, I think in game four. Yeah, in game four. And he's just started popping off a little bit, using his size really well, really showing well as a playmaker on the power play. He's been versatile on the power play. Like he's not kind of married to making that seam pass or driving the net all the time. He's making plays from behind the nets. He's just been, I don't know, the light bulb just kind of clicked off for him. And I think he's been way more of a well-rounded offensive player now.
Yeah, absolutely. And shooting, almost 23% doesn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a guy that had major conversion issues, efficiency issues during the season. So it's nice to see him popping off, but the shots too, he's shooting the lights out. So it's really nice to see. That's a player I love for fantasy. Every single year I'm like, this is it. This is the year for Svech. We're looking at point per game Svech with ridiculous periffs, and he just keeps tooting in our faces. But yeah, maybe it's Rod Brindamore more than Svech. I don't know. How has the deployment been with Rod Brindamore in the playoffs here for the Canes?
Yeah, he's so he really jumbled the lines up a lot in game. I can't remember if it was game 4 or 5 where he jumbled the lines up, but the big change was taking Jarvis off the top line and putting Svechnikov there, and putting Stankoven in Svechnikov's spot. So that was interesting. I was kind of surprised he did that. Because I think he did it after a win, and he normally doesn't tinker with the lineup after wins. But they kind of got their teeth kicked in game 3, and there definitely need to be some changes. But I think he saw how much offense Svechnikov was getting on his own in the rest of the series, and especially on the power play. And he had some great chemistry with Hall, so I'm kind of surprised they split that up. But I think he really wants Svechnikov to be somebody that can gel with Aho on the top line and make that work if it can. Right. And if it doesn't work, you can always put Jarvis back in there. The two of them have auto chemistry. Jarvis, to me, Jarvis was the team's best player this year, and he can drive any line he's on. You put him on the third, kind of a shutdown line with Jordan Staal that gives that line a little more pop than Logan Stankoven does. So I think it's a little more balanced now with the approach. And the fourth line's a bit of a mismatch right now, but I don't know if it really matters that much, because I liked Roslovic on the fourth line. There's kind of some counterattack ability with his speed and puck carrying strengths with Stankoven, but Jankowski's there now. That's more of a checking type of thing. A little more of a net front there with Jankowski. So, but that's just the fourth line, so not a huge impact. But I really want to see if this second line can gel at all, because the way I look at the matchup against the Caps is they have a good chance for their top guys to really win the matchup, because Washington isn't the most Washington's not as top heavy or star driven as most of the other teams they played in the playoffs.
Yeah, more depth.
And they could potentially, if their top line is going to win a matchup in a series, this is it. So I want to see if this Kotkaniemi, Hall, Stankoven line can have 1 or 2 games where they're the best team, where they're the best line on the ice, because that can win you a game, potentially win you a series.
I keep waiting for Kotkaniemi to pop off for fantasy as well. I'm kind of a fan of that player. In a way, it's kind of like a tortured fan. There's some potential there, but also a lot of glaring weaknesses as well. But it's nice to see. Yeah,
he's been close, for stretches of the year. But I will say this is probably the most that Brindamore has liked Kotkaniemi, in his Hurricanes career. He's playing a lot more. He's getting trusted a lot more. As last year, he was on the fourth line in the playoffs. This year, he's kind of on a second 2A, 2B type of line, depending on how Staal gets deployed.
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that player. Before we get into some of these questions that I have for you, I did want to just touch base really quickly on something you just posted on your Substack there. I was just reading your synopsis on Leaf Send series. So definitely check out Corey on Substack. He's doing stuff over there. But you made some really interesting observations specifically regarding Tim Stützle and how that some of the stats, like if we're looking just at some of the stats that you're tracking there, it might seem from the outside that he's really driving offense for his team. And I'm sort of referencing the fact that he had a lot of controlled entries, like the most on his team, but also none of those were leading to scoring chances. And it just reminded me that, yeah, not all zone entries are created equal. And I was just wondering, just in your opinion, like, why do you think Stutz was not able to break through and generate scoring chances despite, touching the puck and bring it in way more than anybody else?
Yeah, just I think it's just him kind of adjusting to some of Toronto's defense, and a lot of it's just how the Sens entered the zone with him. Because when you look at when they entered the zone with Batherson, Stützle was the one kind of fishing the puck out of the defensive zone, and Batherson could get up the ice more with support because he's playing off the pass, he's playing with a defenseman rushing because Stützle's back there covering. So there's a little more. It's more of a higher percentage play going up the ice there. Whereas with Stützle, it's a lot of like him regrouping in the neutral zone, starting from there, kind of intercepting a pass, trying to attack on a regroup or a counterattack. And I think Stützle, I don't know, going back to his rookie season, he's always been a guy that like kind of tries to do it on his own and kind of just kind of be like like a one-man offense. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. And I think he kind of got trapped into he kind of got trapped into playing that way a little bit in the first 4 games of the series, where rather than like using his line mates or maybe kind of waiting for more support. I'm trying to pull up his overall offense. Yeah, like his overall numbers are okay. It's just like a lot of it wasn't off the rush though.
Yeah,
and it was
inefficient, really, like not doing what he potentially should do with
the quick striking play wasn't there. Like I thought there were still some good things from Stützle, like kind of being the connecting guy, kind of being a playmaker too. It's just I don't know, he just kind of became a little one-dimensional in the early in the series with just how he was attacking and trying to kind of create on his own. And then if the play wasn't there, he would always kind of dish it off to somebody else, and it's perimeter offense after that.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting piece. Like when I'm digging in on players here with using your data, is like, yeah, just because a player is really high in their controlled entries, like we need to look at those entries with chances, and that's something that you've brought up many times on this show here. Yeah, if it's not leading to chances, it's just kind of a one and done, isn't it?
Yeah, like, and the frustrating thing about this is like this is something that kind of averages out in a full season. Like there's very few guys that have like 81% control entries like Stützle did and aren't like super efficient at creating scoring chances too. But when you're down to a 7-game series, there's a lot of variance at play, and you get trapped in you can get trapped into playing a certain way. And I haven't tracked the last 2 games of that series yet, so I'll have to see if this continued or not. I know there was a bit of I know they won the next game, and there was a bit of a freak out online with the Leafs, but we'll have to see how much of that was justified soon.
They made it over the hump. Where I would say the Leafs are probably the team I'm cheering for the most right now, just because I feel like I relate them mostly to the Canucks. We're in so much pain over here, Corey. We have nothing. All right, other teams have everything. We have nothing. Toronto, please just get there. If they could win the Stanley Cup, I think I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, like I mean, they're in the same conference as my team, so I'm not rooting for that, obviously.
Right, yeah.
But I like to see him kind of get over some type of hump, just because I don't know, some of just the discourse around them is just kind of based in just complete nonsense, and I just don't like it when people aren't saying what's actually happening out there and kind of are just making stuff up to like suit whatever happened.
That's a really good point, actually. I've talked about this before, but just kind of certainly Canadian hockey media. It's like everybody's just searching for stories, like manufacturing stories, just to get clicks. And also because we're all in pain, it's like these teams are disappointing us so much. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, it's not actually what's happening, it's just what gets good clicks. But anyways, why are we talking about the Leafs? This is terrible. All right. So I got some questions here for you. I want to get some player takes from you, and maybe a couple, under the radar players that you might be looking forward to watching next season. But for me, just using your stuff here at All Three Zones, like, I'm always looking for any edge in player evaluation, and using this stuff and talking to you is sort of challenge the way that I look at offense and player production in general, which has been really amazing. So I really appreciate you for that. I just think these metrics, especially things like, entries leading to chances, individual scoring chances, chance assists, shot assists, all that stuff, it's sort of unlocked different players for me in fantasy. And it feels like a cheat code. Honestly, that's what I tell people. It's like, you use this data, it's like a cheat code. So I wanted to shout you out before we get into these questions. This past season, we correctly called the bounce back from Marty Necas. All right. We talked about him last time you were on. PLD was another one I've talked to you about in the past, and using your data. Like, not that he was so great, but he had a career high. I felt really good about PLD. And also Brandon Hagel, Matt Duchene, other players that I identified through All Three Zones as players that were doing stuff under the hood that really had potential to get the biz. And so, I feel like I'm only scratching the surface, though. And this is kind of where I want to take this conversation. I want to rewind even further back from goals and try and understand where the offense is starting from and which is the most dangerous. And that's something I know that you track. And I was wondering if you could talk to me a little bit about transition play and quick strike offense and things like that, counterattacks, and some of the metrics that you track in your project.
Yeah, so last year I started tracking where rush offenses like generated from. And this is something that Cam Sharon, who used to work for the Maple Leafs, he now works for the Penguins, but he was in the public sphere a little bit. He's based out of Vancouver too. But he when he was breaking down the Leafs Panthers series, one of the things he was looking at was how long it took from an exit to the shot, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Basically looking at kind of quick striking ability, or how long it took from an exit to an entry. And he found that something that really worked for Florida in that series was their offense was happening quickly. They were rimming the puck out of the zone, recovering it, and attacking from there. Whereas Toronto, they were circling back a lot, regrouping, which gave Florida time to like get back, reset, get into defensive posture, and make it a lot more difficult for Toronto to create their chances because everything's happening slower. And that was something I wanted to look deeper in at, just from talking with other coaches like the previous seasons. Like, if you were asking me if they saw goals, if more goals start from the defensive zone or the neutral zone, because he wanted to know like if it's better to focus on like regrouping in the neutral zone or not, or if that's just a waste of time. So I did a project for the Seattle Analytics Conference a couple of years ago, and I only looked at goals from a season. So I only looked at goals, and I found that most of them come from defensive zone exits for the most part. So
You're talking specifically about a player kind of, breaking the puck out and then a rush chance. Is that what you mean?
against a forecheck specifically.
I see.
And that was where the majority of goals came from. But some of the better teams were more well versed in getting offense from other areas, like counterattacks, and neutral zone reloads were a big one. And that was neutral zone reloads were that was kind of the untapped potential for offense, is what I saw, because that's something Colorado was really good at when they had that insanely stacked roster that just bulldozed their way to a cup win. And that's something Tampa Bay was really good at. Vegas was really good at that too. So a lot of these teams that can kind of like pick off a zone exit in the neutral zone and then quickly reattack from there that's where like most of the that's where like kind of the unfound like money was with rush offense.
Yeah.
And
what is the difference between a reload and a regroup? Is it to do with offsides?
So a reload basically it's a quick up. Basically, you pick the play off in the neutral zone and go quickly back in. Like, there's no like, you don't go D to D, you don't circle back. Whereas like a neutral zone reload is, if you get the puck in the neutral zone, you circle back, you wait for everybody to get back on side, and then you attack from there.
I see. Okay.
So like a neutral zone reload could also that's also technically a defensive zone play, but that's like gray area we don't really need to discuss right now.
Right.
So so I wanted to look at this like from a whole league-wide shot angle because I wanted to see what are the most higher percentage shots, like what are the highest percentage plays, like which play should you be going after, like if you're a coach, and which play should you try to avoid if like you're trying to increase your rush offense, or you've got a team that's like defensively a mess and you want to try to clean things up.
Right.
And so what I found was defensive shots off rush shots happen the most frequently still off defensive zone exits. They just have a normal, very league average shooting percentage, like 8-9%. Whereas off turnovers and counterattacks, those are the higher percentage plays, which makes sense because they happen off turnovers. And it's more odd man. It's more susceptible to like odd man rushes, 2-on-1s, that kind of thing, because everybody's out of structure. Right. Reloads, they happen somewhat frequently, more frequently than turnovers, but they had just above average shooting percentage. Regroups and control breakouts didn't happen that much, and they had a very low shooting percentage. So basically your reload plays and your turnovers, and you want to be good at defensive zone exits too, because that's like your most reliable source for offense.
Yeah.
Whereas like the turnover plays, like that's very boom or bust, because just because like if your whole like offense, and if your whole transition offense is based off counterattacks, it's not the best long term, because one team that was like that a few years ago was the Winnipeg Jets. Almost all their goals from the defensive zone were off counterattacks, and this was the year they missed the playoffs.
Crazy. Yeah. It's there's so many layers to this. And it's like, I love hearing that, offense from the D zone, that's kind of your bread and butter, right? That's what you need to kind of be good at if you want to have a rush offense. But yeah, you sprinkle in these counterattacks, and obviously that's high percentage stuff, but like you said, boom or bust. And yeah, like this is where I'm like tip of the iceberg, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, how do I assess that? How do I quantify that? And
this is my goal for the summer, just for the record, to kind of like make all this a little more, just to make it a little more sensical,
Sure.
Because I have 2 years of this track now, so hopefully it's enough to kind of build something with.
Yeah. Well, what specific microstats are you like? What do you call them on your site there? Like, would it be like, turnovers, like, or shots off turnovers per 60? Are you doing like neutral zone offense? How do you, what is the exact, name for that stat that you're tracking?
I don't have it just yet. I'm still kind of workshopping things, like to figure out the best way to present them, because I have them for teams. I just haven't broken up into the individual categories, and it's a lot to look at.
Yep, sure.
So I'd like to refine that a little more.
Yeah, well, I'm very interested in that when that gets done. That's amazing. There are a couple players that I just I was going through your page, and I love the player rankings section of the tableau. Like, so I sort of look at different things there and see who's popping off. And a couple players stood out for me in terms of what I would consider quick strike offense or counterattack offense. Like Matt Coronado, he was number one in your data in shots on goal off of neutral zone turnovers. Which I just like way up, which I thought was really interesting. Alex Laferriere was 8th in that metric. Just some players that are interesting to me that I wouldn't think of as really valuable type of players for fantasy per se, but they kind of show out in that one stat. I mean, Kevin Fiala was 1st in neutral zone assists per 60. JJ Peterka 6th in offense originating from the neutral zone per 60. Do you think that, like this type of skill, like let's say Matt Coronado and Alex Laferriere, is that repeatable? Is that something that is sustainable and repeatable in your opinion?
So far I've seen some signs of repeatability just based on the players who are good at this and how they've performed. Like Kevin Fiala has been good for years and years now, and he put it together when he was in Minnesota. Because he was kind of a guy he was somebody that I was just waiting to take off, and it finally did. Marty Necas, same thing. And some of these other guys I'm a little interested in, like Peterka is a very interesting one, because I don't think of him as like a high-end offensive player. Then I look up and it's like, oh, he's got like 68 points this year. Like that's that's damn good for anybody. And Alex Laferriere is somebody who was good at this in his rookie year. He just had no points and couldn't really finish. And this year it popped off. And he's I don't know, he isn't quite there yet, but I think next year you might see it. And that it's I this is a new stat for me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like looking to see who's going to be who are going to be the trailblazers in this category going forward, because there's definitely some signs there. Like Coronado had a 20-goal season, as I thought he was a rookie, but he's actually not. And but still young enough that he's like doesn't really have a track record, and he can definitely like show off a little bit next year. But that's interesting for he's also an interesting player because the Flames, they were a team that did a lot of this stuff on the margins last year. Because like on the whole, they weren't really a good team at all. Like in
offensively,
like in most metrics I track, they weren't a good team, but they just had like pockets of the game that were really good. They were really good at, which I mean that might have kind of worked against them as far as like what was supposed to be a rebuilding season.
Yeah, totally.
But they overperformed like what they were supposed to be, just from kind of finding like little sections of the game that they were good at. And they had a lot of these types of players too, like Coronado. Kadri's always been a really good player at this too. Getting Morgan Frost too, he's always been a good player. Farabee's been a good rush offense player.
Yeah. What do you think about Farabee actually? Because again, using the all three zones data, I always see this guy's name popping up, but he's not getting the ice time and you know the line mates that he needs, I think, to pop off. But in terms of entries that lead to chances for 60, this guy's numbers pop off the page.
Yeah, this year they did. I feel like it was kind of an aberration this year because he's been pretty close to the league average year before. I don't know what was going on in Philadelphia this year with him, honestly.
Right.
But like it matched the eye test too, because I watched a lot of Philly games like over the winter, like when they were kind of in the mix. And my thoughts every time was like, wow, Farabee's got like 3 chances or 4 chances, and most of them are off breakaways, and I can't believe he didn't score in any of them.
Right.
And like I posted his numbers, I remember on Blue Sky or something, and a Flyers fan was like, yeah, Farabee's pretty much the king of how do you not score on that every single game. But he's always been like, I don't know, above average offensive player in terms of scoring chance generation, decent playmaker, decent shooter, generator. Just this year was kind of just him going off the page for whatever reason. And the Flyers have kind of been like that with Torts. They just have 1 or 2 lines that's like that really just feasts off the rush and feasts off turnovers. And it didn't really hold up this year. Like Owen Tippett was somebody that I thought showed signs of kind of being that really one chance scorer type of guy, that quick strike offense guy, and he kind of fell back down to earth this year too.
Yeah, just brutal efficiency for Owen Tippett. He's the ultimate chucker. Like, buddy, put the biscuit in the basket. What are you doing? He's getting so many chances, and he just can't bear down.
Yeah, this year he fell off too. He became way more one-dimensional.
It'll be interesting to see what the coaching change there, because let these guys loose. Owen Tippett is a beauty. I really am interested there, and I love Matvei Michkov too. I got a question about him later on, so we won't dive into him. But it's actually I'm low key excited about some of the Flyers there with the coaching change, and so much coaching changing here in the NHL, isn't it? Like
no kidding, right?
It's crazy. I can't this Rick Tocchet thing. Oh my god. Like that is so painful, Corey. I like it would be like Rod Brindamore just be like, I'm good. Like, what do you mean you're good? Like the team is good to go. You're leaving. I don't understand. So yeah, I don't know what Canucks are going to do here, but it's going to be pretty painful for us the next few years, I think.
Yeah, it's basically what everybody thinks is going to happen to Brindamore in Carolina every year, and it happens there.
Well, this playoff win will definitely give him some, a little bit more leash there. I was surprised they went back to Brindamore, honestly, after kind of the same shtick, style of play, and it didn't work in the playoffs again. But now they've made it around here, and I don't know. I think they have a good a chance as anybody, right? Like you said, if their top line can beat Washington's top line, if it's Kochetkov, we're going to need some goaltending here, my man. But I think they have just as good a chance as anybody to knock off the Caps.
Yeah, well, like when the Canes, I wasn't very enthusiastic about the Canes making the playoffs just from how they were playing the last really since they clinched, they just kind of took their foot off the gas pedal.
Yep.
And they've been such a hot and cold team every year. And I thought this year was a retooling year anyway, because you got Nikishin coming in next year. You got a bunch of cap space. You got Burns coming off the books. You got Orlov coming off the books. You got two very, very highly touted defensive prospects stepping in for them, and a lot of cap space to spend next year too. So I was thinking this is a retool year, just get through it. But I look at who is in the playoffs, and I kind of just went down team by team. I'm like, yeah, they can win a series against them. They can win a series against them too. The only team I thought no was Toronto.
And we'll see. Yeah. Similar style, looks like, with the forechecking, kind of the dump and chase forecheck there Toronto did against Ottawa there. I know we're digressing, but yeah, they've been forechecking the lights out there in that series.
Yeah, they really were, especially early in the series. And I thought, the Leafs, what they were doing a really good job of was kind of just disrupting scoring chances too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that's where kind of Tanev was earning his paycheck, especially the two games in Ottawa, just because I felt like it was interesting because the series was close, but also kind of just a little deceiving going by raw numbers too, just by like pure expected goals and all that, or pure scoring chances. Just because Toronto was playing with a lead so much, and Berube's been sitting back with leads a lot, and kind of just like letting, like not even going to a shell, just sort of just focusing on disrupting and going from there.
Yeah.
And
Nate and I have been talking about that a little bit, just because that's how St. Louis was, obviously, when Berube was the coach, right? It felt like low event hockey until it wasn't. For, like you said, like little pockets where they sort of take advantage, guys like Robert Thomas and Kyrou popping off, and then back into this shell or whatever. But the Leafs have way more talent up front than St. Louis ever had. So I feel like it's kind of an interesting strategy that he's deploying there.
Yeah, it's interesting because he hasn't played the exact way or coached the exact same way he did in St. Louis, because like somewhere along the line he became like he kind of leaned into just focusing on Thomas and Kyrou as his top players, and just focusing the team on just having these really long, drawn out, connected passing plays for their offense. It was like, we're going to give up 3 chances, but they're going to be B-level chances, and the one we're getting is going to be a grade A with an open net.
Mm-hmm.
And the Leafs don't really do that much. They're kind of, in this series, it's been a lot of like counterattacks, poaching for those, and playing a lot more on the forecheck. But I think that's just kind of the personnel too.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm looking forward to dissecting all this after the playoffs are over too. That's when I find more capacity with myself to see kind of what happened. It's hard when it's going on, but all right, I'm digressing here. We got to get into this. I got some players I want to ask you about, and then I'd like to get some players from you if possible. Players of interest for me, right off the hop here, Thomas Harley. This is a guy that I'd love to get your thoughts on. He had a pretty great season, actually, considering that the first half wasn't really, up to snuff. Dallas in particular wasn't really generating a lot of offense, but he ended with 50 points in 78 games. Nice. But 29 points in the last 38. Time on ice was up. Like, what do you think the ceiling is for Thomas Harley? Because I did notice as well, like, he's 5th in the Microstat game score behind Hughes, McCarr, Taves, and Hedman. That's ridiculous. And then we got Thomas Harley. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that player, and what do you think he can do next season?
Yeah, I think the world of Thomas Harley. Like, I was surprised he wasn't in the Four Nations roster from the get-go, because I thought he was playing that well. And he does everything. He is a one-man breakout. He is really good at rushing the puck, very good, very creative, deceptive at creating offense. He can score from distance. And I think he's been the no question number 1 in Dallas since the Heiskanen injury too. And he's kind of just thrived in that role, kind of just accepted, just like, I don't know, just seems to really embrace being like the go-to guy there. And this year it's interesting because like in terms of like volume on offense, it's not as good as it was in previous seasons, like in terms of shot and chance generation, but the high quality plays and the plays you want to see from a defenseman are all like off the charts good. Especially with controlled entries. And Dallas, they were a rush heavy team this year, and they have guys who can take advantage of it too. And I don't know, the Stars were a very weird team this year. I don't know. It's like most of the year, you're like, oh, they should be better. They should be a lot better than this. Like, why isn't this guy producing? Then just like at the end of the year, everybody kind of just everybody's kind of like
Yeah,
came
normalized,
up,
equalized.
played to their level. Like, I think Robertson ended up scoring 30 goals. Johnson got there too. And then just the last, I don't know, what was it?
Yeah, they just backed
The,
into the playoffs, didn't they?
the last month of the season, they just like they just were not good at all. But Harley was like the one guy who like showed out there, and now they're in a game 7. So
It's this is just a player that I'm super excited about going into next year. I'm trying to identify guys that I think are going to be
he's
values.
so with Harley, it's gonna be interesting if he stays on the top power play unit, because that's gonna determine whether or not he's a fantasy stud or not. I actually drafted him in my league, like with my last pick,
I had
and
him too. Yeah.
yeah, that was a and like it was okay investment. I think overall did more at the end of the year, but I was checked out like middle of the season.
How'd
So
you do in your league?
I honestly don't know. I haven't looked at it
Oh,
since
there you go.
January.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it since January, but I don't know. I think he's a game breaker, and I think he's a workhorse and a game breaker. It just depends on how the minutes get doled out when Miro comes back.
Yeah, I feel like this could be, and this is a kind of a crude comparison, but like a Makar Taves situation, where maybe Harley's Makar. He's not Makar, but you're getting the gist.
I
And
get, yeah,
and
I
then
get.
Heiskanen is Taves, right? There where they kind of work together, or like a Lane Hudson and Mike Matheson situation as
Yeah,
well, right? Like I think Harley is more adept at this offense, right? Like driving offense. And Heiskanen does that too, obviously. But I think Heiskanen has that defensive acumen that, maybe there's a little bit of a role shift there. But like you said, I think he definitely needs power play 1 to pop for fantasy. But a pretty damn nice season. I mean, 50 points, 16 goals. I love double-digit goals from a defenseman. So
yeah. The key thing with him too is if he is on the second pair, Dallas has forward depth. So you got
yeah.
guys who can tip pucks, take advantage of passes, because that's where a lot of these that's where like a lot of guys that aren't the top defensemen, that's where they kind of get screwed in fantasy.
Yeah, the down the lineup, the talent's not as big. No, that makes absolute sense. So yeah, we're watching Thomas Harley here. Another player. This is a guy that I think I'm going to have a lot of shares of next year as kind of a flyer pick. But another young defenseman here, Jackson Lacombe, the Anaheim Ducks. And when I go to his Microstat player card, it's obscene. It's blue as the sky. It's crazy. Like this guy's well above average in a bunch of metrics, elite in other ones, and like the Ducks in general, their offense from the D zone, that's one of the best in the league. I mean, everything else is hot garbage, but the Ducks are generating, it seems like, most of their offense from the back end. Jackson Lacombe in particular, just according to all three zones, 7th amongst defensemen in controlled entries per 60, 1st in exits with possession per 60, 3rd in entry denial, so he's good defense as well, 4th in rush assists per 60. What the hell? This guy's insane. So talk to me about Jackson Lacombe, and obviously we got a coaching change there in Anaheim, so this could all be for naught, right? But I'm predicting that Jackson Lacombe gets power play 1 next season and big minutes, like 22 to 25 minutes defenseman. And I don't know, what do you think of this player?
Yeah, I think he's legit. Like, he had to force his way into that role too by basically being too good to bench at first, and then too good to play, and too good to take off the top pair by like January.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, he reminds me so much of Jacob Slavin, like defensively.
I like that.
Well, with Slave, and I mean Slavin, like when he first came into the league, because before he was the shutdown defenseman, he was this puck rusher. He was the one man breakout. He was like the guy who kind of commanded the offense from the blue line, and he didn't have like the offensive kind of skill set that a lot of these like higher power players have. But Lacombe plays almost the exact same way that Slavin does. He skates almost the same way too, just like really shifty footwork, really shifty. First couple of strides are really fast, really good at gliding after that, and kind of getting himself into a defensive position when he's beaten wide or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's definitely the real deal. And it kind of just depends if he stays a number 1 under the new coach, I think, because he does everything well. And like, he does everything well. He can handle those minutes too. And he showed signs of it his rookie season. Like, if you look at his card from his rookie year, it's like not as like ridiculous as it is now, but there are signs there. Like, decent offensive defenseman, and he was good at a lot of things that you kind of hope that a mobile defenseman is good at. He was very good at avoiding turnovers off retrievals, good at not getting knocked off the puck, good at leading exits from the retrieval. He just was in a bad system and couldn't really use any of those talents to his benefits. And then last year, I don't know what happened exactly. If it was kind of like some of the forwards in Anaheim getting better, or him just improving as a player, or just kind of like figuring out this is the situation I'm stuck in. I gotta make do with it. Because like from all accounts, like the players hated playing for that coach.
I haven't heard one good thing about Greg Cronin, honestly. Like, how did he last 2 seasons? I don't know.
But Lacombe just showed out, and I don't know, like he was pretty damn close to being the team's best player. Like whenever I watched Anaheim,
and very noticeable player.
He put they put together a decent stretch in the middle of the season, like when they were already out of it, granted, but still, there were like signs there that something's kind of growing. And the Ducks are a team I really got my eye on next year, depending on like who they land on as their coach. But there's just too many good young players to suck this badly for so long.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm a big Troy Terry fan. I think, when you look at offense from the D zone, like, you got Jackson Lacombe back there, pass it up to Troy Terry, and you got like an amazing rush player, popping off into the zone. So they just need to insulate some of these guys. Like, I love Owen Zellweger as well.
He's very good too.
Like, these guys are great.
The similar traits to him, but like, I want to see if Carlson and Cutter Gauthier had good second halves to their seasons too. So if they can take that next step, I think this is a team that could be like in the actual playoff mix next year.
And they got the beautiful orange jerseys. I got to get me one of those. I think you love it or hate it. What do you think of the Ducks orange jerseys there, Corey?
I mean, I just wish the pants weren't orange.
Oh, damn. Okay, that's fair.
I don't know. It's really bright. Like but nobody else looks like that. I'll give them that much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. It's definitely a missed opportunity for them not to bring back the old Mighty Ducks jerseys. Those are sick. That is a sick fit.
Honestly, like they brought back the Wild Wing logo, which is what I cared about. Like they could wear just whatever they want, and that would look good in my opinion.
Yeah, that's dope. Okay, let's move on. Some more players here. Florida player that I'm really interested in, who's sort of been minimized a little bit here in the playoffs, but Mackie Samoskevich. This is a guy that got some run back half of the year on Power Play 1 with Florida. Again, Microstat card pops off the page. This guy's 13th overall in high danger passes per 60, according to your data. He's in the 91st percentile in shots off the rush. He's a great skater. He's a great forward checker. Like, do you think that he's a top 6, top power play kind of player for Florida next year?
He could be. I just wonder if he falls into what I call the Lundell trap, which is where you're like the 7th best. You're good, but you're the 7th best forward on your team.
Right.
So you're going to get third line minutes and barely any power play time. But when he got those minutes, I think he started to pop off as he figured out like the NHL game a little more. Because my biggest like gripe with him is that he couldn't score for the longest time, and there's a lot of shots into the crest, shots into the pads, things like that. That you kind of just get better at with more reps, or you become Evan Rodriguez, where it's like you're
you want to avoid that if possible. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're Evan Rodriguez, you can stay in the league for a long time. You just won't become that great of a. You just won't become that great of a fantasy hockey player.
Except in Game 7.
Yeah, that's true. But yes, he has a lot of those traits, and I kind of wonder if I do wonder if he can steal some ice time from like a Carter Verhaeghe or something next year as he gets better and those guys get a little older. Because Sam Bennett could leave next year too. That's kind of the elephant in the room. So that opens up a top 6 spot. But I assume Lundell's going to pop in there.
Yeah, that's an interesting piece too. Lundell, mini Barkov. Obviously, when Barkov was out, Lundell popped off this year. He really did some stuff. He was great in fantasy, but I think we see the talent level of the player. Like Florida's pretty stacked. When you got a guy like Samoskevich and Lundell, even Jesper Boqvist, maybe not the most talented guy in the world, but they can do stuff with some opportunity. Like that's a team that's well constructed, in my opinion. But Samoskevich,
he scratched him. What?
Yeah, they scratched him for 2 games, which is
I guess it makes sense. They do like Greer, and Lustarinen's a really good player on that third line too.
I think, yeah, without those scratches, I would have certainly been more interested in next season. It's just, yeah, I was really looking to see what kind of deployment he got here in the playoffs, and the fact that he's being minimized, maybe we're a year away from him actually popping with his team. But
Yeah,
he already stole those minutes from Verhaeghe in the back half of the year. It was insane.
yeah, and like he had a really good game one against Tampa too. Set up that ridiculous goal by Bennett, and I think he's somebody that I kind of looked. He is somebody that I'm looking for like in the next 2 years as a guy that'll pop off like Alex Laferriere did last year.
Yep.
And there was somebody else. So like a lot of people like tell me, "Oh, you called this guy breaking out." I'm like, I did. I don't remember saying anything about him. And but I remember Laferriere was definitely one of those guys, and Samoskevich has a lot of similar qualities to him. It's just a matter of can he score or not, and he's starting to figure that out. It's kind of like fine tuning his game at the NHL level, but he is a shot machine. So
Yep.
those guys kind of go either way, where like they kind of stay with a decent baseline.
Yep.
And Jackson Blake's another guy very similar too. With
I mean, yeah, he had pockets in the season like where he was really cooking Samoskevich. So yeah, I like that comparison to Jackson Blake too.
yeah, Blake's a little different just because he looks to pass so much. But like unless he can drive the net, then he really likes to do that. But he's kind of figuring out he's figuring out how to play on offense, and he's on the top line now. So it really just depends if they bring in anybody better.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly got a lot of people to potentially play with there in the top six. That's pretty nice. All right. I want to get to some players that maybe you're interested in, Corey. But before we do, I want to shout out your boy, Zach Bolduc. All right. This is it was funny after our Corey mentioned Zach Bolduc the last time I talked to him, just as a player of interest. And right after that, before the episode popped, I went to my dynasty league and I tried to trade for Zach Bolduc right away. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't do it fast enough. The guy waited and then he heard the episode. He's like, oh, I knew you were going to go for Zach Bolduc because he just talked with Corey. So can you talk to me about Zach Bolduc and sort of your outlook now? Because he had a great back half of the season. He made his way on to power play one. I think something that, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think something you were interested in were that he was getting a lot of chance assists and shot assists, things like that. I think that fell off a little bit, but
this is the funny part. That totally fell off the back half of the season.
Yeah.
But he became more of a shooter was the thing.
Yeah, and got power play one. Like,
yeah.
what do you think about this player? Like, he's obviously a beefer as well, over 100 hits, which is really nice to see. Like, is this going to stick? Is this a guy that we can sort of expect in the top six power play one next year?
Potentially. The Blues have just been such a hodgepodge of different like talented young players. I'm not really sure where he's going to fit in full time next year because you got Dylan Holloway there, you got Jake Neighbors there as a net front guy. Thomas and Kyrie are going to get the power play minutes regardless. But he has the Braden Shen too. I think he kind of is always on the power play regardless of how good or bad he's doing. But I mean, I do like him as kind of a power play guy just because he's very good at using his body to like create space for himself to get open in the slot. He's got a massive upper body. Like if you've watched him.
Beefer, mega beefer.
Yeah, he's a decent shooter too. That came along second part of the year, kind of being the slot guy. So I do think. So I'm kind of interested to see where he goes because the beginning of the year for the Blues, like especially when Montgomery took over, it was kind of he was playing a lot of these kids and kind of trying to figure out what they were good at and what they were bad at, and a lot of guys kind of figured it out, especially Holloway.
Yeah,
in the back half of the season, like he became just that was a very interesting like case of like player development there because they just kind of got him and just played the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And just as the year went on, he just got more comfortable and they kind of found out what his niche is, what he's good at. And he's kind of that do it all second line center now. And Bolduc's the same way. He's just kind of slowly breaking into that level.
Yeah. A couple years behind.
But yeah, he's interesting because he's like a good shot generator, but not a good chance generator right now. But he's decent in other areas of the ice that he's not going to get benched.
Mm-hmm.
Like good with zone exits, decent at controlled entries. Not going to force them though, and he's really good at kind of that in zone game for forechecking, where you're like grinding out leads.
Yeah,
and he had a good game one too. I remember that.
I think that's really important because you need the coach's confidence, right? And like just that point there, yeah, he's not going to do stuff that's going to get him benched. That's really key, right? Because then we can extrapolate that his ice time is going to go up, not down, right? And this is a guy that's played under 13 minutes average time on ice for the first 2 seasons. I think this might be a 15-minute player next year, and I think if that's the case, yeah, we're looking at what does he got? 36. We could maybe get 45 points, Zach Bolduc next year. That could happen. I feel like certainly his performance on the power play as well. If he can get on there, like this guy got 7 power play goals. That's pretty damn nice. Like 9 power play points in the last 19 games.
Yeah, that's what I look for. What I kind of look to him as, like a power play specialist, just from how good he is in that bumper position.
Yeah.
So I would look at that.
Absolutely. All right. Shout out to Zach Bolduc. Shout out to Corey Sznajder, the seer of all seers. All right. He called it. All right. And we're taking that to the bank. Buddy, while I got you, again, I'd be remiss if I didn't get your take on just some players of interest for you next season. Like, do you have any kind of under the radar type guys that, you're interested in? Maybe you can share with us guys that are potentially bubbling under the hood, could pop off with like an increase in deployment or opportunity.
Well, there's a couple of guys on Washington. Kind of depends on if they get minutes or not, because Washington, I think, is probably the best team in the league at integrating guys from their AHL team and turning them into good players, because they did this with Alexei Protas this year, or the last 2 years.
Amazing season for him.
Yeah, he was a guy that slowly came along. In my data, he was not good when he started. Then like last year, he started to show signs, and it's like, oh, this could be a guy that's really good next year. And I think he actually led the league in 5-on-5 points this year.
That's crazy stuff.
Hendrix Leperrier and Ivan Miroshnichenko, they got limited minutes when they came up, but they didn't get garbage minutes, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Because they got I think it was 11, 13 type of minutes, those type of minutes per game. But they show really good offensive instincts, very good playmakers, very good at getting to the net, that type of thing, especially Miroshnichenko. He's a really smart player. He knows how to kind of create offense in tight spaces, that type of thing. So I think that's going to make him good in the NHL next year.
Awesome.
Colin Graff in San Jose, I'm really interested in him. He had a great end to the season. He just could not score at all. And Will Smith, I want to see how he does in a full year. He had a great second half, and he started to it's interesting with him because he started bottom of the barrel first half of the season, and he got himself up to an average type of numbers by the end of the year. But where he showed out was shots off of high danger passes. So if he's with Celebrini or Eklund,
he's gonna keep getting those.
That's found money.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, this guy was getting his load managed giggity for the first half of the year, so that was really painful. But yeah, they started giving him those minutes, and it was really nice to see this. San Jose's are we excited about San Jose? Is that what we're saying? Because I kind of am.
Yeah, they're more fun to watch than Anaheim was, but they're getting to the point where it's they have too many young. They're starting to get to the point where it's there's too many talented young players here to suck this badly for so long.
Yep.
I think there's another year or so for them, but they got the best player in that group though, in Celebrini.
Absolutely. I mean, and I talk about this with Nate, my partner here, but for them to compete, I think they literally need to sign 3 top 4 defensemen. That's what we need. Can you just, we need some, at the top 4 can't be the bottom 4 on any other team. You know what I mean? So we'll see what they do. It's certainly a team of interest. I'm not sure how I feel about Mike Greer's work with San Jose at this point. There's some head scratchers to me.
He's done the easy part well.
Yeah. I mean, he got number 1 pick. He made the right pick. And obviously Will Smith is a really nice piece as well. But
but for defensemen, this is always tricky because it's a matter of power play time and ice time. But I want to see if Kevin Korchinski gets a top role in Chicago next year or wherever he ends up, because that's a very gifted offensive player, and he showed it towards the back half of last year when they called him up, or during the stretch where they called him up. But it didn't seem like they rotated their defensemen so much there, and I'm not sure who is in the good graces of the front office currently. And this one is going to depend. This is a very risky pick. It's super off the board. It's probably going to depend on if he gets traded, honestly. But so there's a defenseman in Colorado named Sam Malinsky. He's a third pair defenseman, plays uber sheltered minutes, but he's got very, very good offensive instincts. Very good at creating scoring chances. He just plays behind. He always plays behind like the third and fourth lines there. And he got sent. And like when they got Eric Johnson, he started kind of being a part-time player. And I think he's a restricted free agent this year. And I'm not sure if Colorado's going to keep him or not. Kind of just based on where he is in the lineup and all that, and how much money they got to spend in free agency. But I'm very interested to see like where he is if he ends up on a team where he's going to get like any offensive minutes, because it's not going to happen in Colorado where you got Kel McCarr and Devin Taves.
What does Malinsky do that gets you sort of excited about him and potential production?
He's got very complementary skill sets to the forwards. He's good at reading the play, knowing when to pinch, and he has a pretty decent shot from the point too. And he's very good at creeping in for the offense as well. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of guys like this in the AHL, so I might be getting a little too excited there, but he's shown he can handle third pair minutes on a playoff team.
Right.
And I think with like in a situation where he's not behind the best offensive defenseman in the league, he might have a chance of kind of being a decent player for fantasy.
Yeah, I love that. That's a deep cut. But I mean, I've seen this guy's name around, right? He's not a nobody. This guy got 15 points last year, 10 the year before. But yeah, like you said, sheltered minutes. It'll be interesting to see, if he can sort of break through. Because yeah, you're right. It's not
like I always got one super off the board pick. I'm not going to see if I can repeat whatever I did with Zach Bolduc. That made me
once Bolduc started popping off, because he did, I was like, this is insane. Like that's a deep cut to me. That was at the time, and then it didn't seem like such a deep cut.
Yeah, and I think did I mention Connor Geekie last time?
Maybe, but yeah, talk to me about Connor Geekie, because I'm into him and Morgan Geekie. Morgan Geekie is a guy I was interested in, again, based off your microstats there going into last year, and he had a really nice season.
Yeah, Geekie played a lot in Tampa the first half of the season, but they sent him down second half.
Yeah,
just because he can't score just yet. He doesn't really know. It doesn't seem like he's figured out finishing at the NHL level just yet. But he's got a lot of other good traits that make him useful, though.
Yeah,
like I don't know. He's fast. He's very deceptive at getting away from defensemen. Very good at creating scoring chances. He's just a bit one dimensional, just because like he gets a lot of his scoring chances just from like driving the offensive zone on his own or driving the net on his own. And I think as soon as he kind of figures out how to play at the NHL level a little more complimentary, he might start to figure it out. But I don't know. It's a first round pick. Like he's got pedigree. He's got skill set. Obviously, it's just a matter of
6'4", 207. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, look at the flow on this kid as well. He's got more lettuce than a farmer's market. Oh my.
Yeah, God. And I don't know. He's got a good grip around him there too. Yeah. Like he was on Anthony Cirelli and Brendan Hagel's line early in the season. So I think like he's kind of I hope like he kind of absorbs some of like the knowledge of playing with them and kind of figuring out what to do. Like to become a scorer like in the highest level.
I love that. Yeah, Corey, this is good stuff. These are all players I'm going to be watching moving forward here. Players that are I'm aware of, but I just like the validations. Like, okay, there's lots to like, and even just looking at Connor Geekie here, this guy's a beefer as well. Jeez, almost had 100 hits in 52 games. I like that. That's great for fantasy. So cool. Well, Corey, I appreciate your time. We're going to get you out of here. But before I let you go, I would like to give you just one last question here. Which young player are you most excited about moving forward out of Bedard, Michkov, and Celebrini, and why?
I would say Celebrini from what I've seen of him. He's got such a unique skill set. Just watching him every night, seeing how well he did, especially in the defensive zone from getting pucks out.
Yep.
And San Jose on just kind of a barren roster. And I don't know, he made the Sharks watchable. That's a very high bar to clear. And I feel like a lot of the buzz with Bedard is kind of settled down from just not having a great sophomore season, but I think he's going to have a really strong third year too.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the figure it out year for Bedard.
Well, they got to surround him with some talent. I mean, I liked Teravainen and Bertuzzi. Sure, that's nice, but that didn't pan out. He needs a partner, basically, like Mitch Marner. Can we get Mitch Marner to the Blackhawks? Like that would be ridiculous. I anytime anyone asks me anything about, sorry,
I
go ahead.
just want to see more of that. Like, there's so few players in the league that can just like enter the zone and score, and that was like Bedard's what his calling card was supposed to be. And like, I want to see if he kind of can do that a little more next year. And like, it's obviously hard to do, but I don't know. I don't know. First overall pick, highly touted, generational talent type of buzz with him. So I kind of want to see if he does that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And a new coach should make a huge difference. Bedard was bounced around, like the lines were in a blender all year. It's crazy. Like you can't, he needs to build some chemistry with some people, and they were changing it up so much. It just didn't make any sense. Still had an amazing year on the power play, but, and then Michkov, like Nate, who I work with here, he thinks there's a 90-point season in this guy. Maybe not next year, but like depending on deployment and with the type of talent that he has, what do you think about Michkov next year?
Yeah, he's like upper echelon of 19-year-old guys in the league. He got better as the season went on, exploded in the last like 10 games or so after they fired Tortorella.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's totally doable. I don't know how many points he had this year off the top of my head, but he is a guy that can really pop off and be like I don't know about like hard candidate, but like a top like 15, 10 player in the league just from the looks of it. Just a guy that like casually gets himself to like 80, 90 points a year.
Yeah, he seems like that kind of talent. It's just, I think the league's in good hands with these three guys. I like Celebrini of those three as well, to be honest, just based on what I've seen. But, I think we've kind of forgotten about Connor Bedard and how good he is. So hopefully he's able to do that next season.
Yeah, everybody was really down on him this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. People forget just how young he is. I think he was young even for an 18-year-old. Like he just turned 18 when he got drafted or something.
Yep.
So
lots of growing pains. Not a good team. I mean, that's every first overall draft picks experience most likely. But I feel confident in the player. But they need to get him some help there. But yeah, anyways, Corey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. Before we let you go, why don't you talk to us quickly about all three zones, what we can expect moving forward, and where can our listeners find you and check out your content?
Well, right now there's a lot of I'm doing a lot of playoff recaps and such right now. I was hoping to get more like playoff updates, game recaps type of thing, but I don't know, time is it's a little hard to carve out time for it. So I'm kind of just making do with whatever I can right now. But there are going to be recaps of the first round over the next 2 days or so both on my Twitter accounts and my Blue Sky account. Twitter is at shutdownline. Twitter is Blue Sky is all three zones.bluesky.com. And everything else is going to be on my Substack, which is allthreezones.substack.com. You can get a subscription right there. You can get a subscription right there, and they'll get sent right to your inbox. And if you want to find more of the All Three Zones data, you can go to allthreezones.com. And that's kind of the hub of where all my stuff is. You can buy a subscription. All my data there has data going back to 2016, all the teams, all the players, everything you want. And I think I covered everything.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Thank you so much for the work you do. It's vital stuff. It inspires me. Like when I'm at work, basically I'm just on the All Three Zones website, just scouring, trying to find some value and stuff. I love this stuff. And that to me, that a subscription there is money well spent. Definitely got to check out Corey's Substack as well. Lots of information there. But that's it, folks. Thank you so much for checking us out. We really appreciate that. We got more content coming throughout the off season here. We're going to be looking at, probably 2 to 3 shows a week for a little bit. And then we're going to get to biz in draft season. Corey, I'd love to have you back. I could have you on every day if you're willing. What do you say, Corey?
It'd be tough to do on my end, but we can shoot for it.
All right. Oh, wow. That's a verbal contract. We're taking that.
If you don't mind my daughter being on here as a guest.
You know what? We need some more cuteness here. People have to look at my face. It's not good, right? So, maybe that could get us a new bunch of listeners. I don't know where I'm going with that. But Corey, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you listeners. Thank you for your service. Until next time, celebrate your day. Bye for now.